What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Sit Down Sports Edition. You know the man across beside me, Andrew, and you know what we're about to do. We're about to talk playoffs, wild card weekend. And
Playoffs.
We talk about playoffs.
You kidding me? Playoffs?
Playoffs. And
I'll Steelers just hope they can win a game.
Oh my goodness, we'll get there. But I'll tell you what. I think all in all, I think the weekend really kind of delivered in the sense of what we were expecting.
It playoffs.
It did. Every game was close, competitive. You know,
most of them, yeah.
Good football, yeah, pretty much. Good football all the way around.
It felt really, really nice to sit down and because usually when I watch football on Sundays, I watch NFL Red Zone, so I kind of catch bits and pieces of every game, kind of piece it together. But this was great. I was able to sit down and individually watch every game.
Yep.
And then there was only one game I didn't get to finish watching, and it was Browns and Steelers because I had to wake up early the next morning.
Right.
So, but the rest of them I watched pretty much all the way through, and it was really nice to be able to take in all of that good playoff football, barring one game, which was kind of a crapshoot.
And really kind of see the dynamics of the teams going forward and see what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I'll say this: you're gonna have to kind of carry the load on this first game because I kind of fell asleep halfway through. To be honest, I took a nap on Saturday. So let's start with the Colts Bills.
Yeah.
We both picked the Bills, so this went as we expected, and we predicted it was gonna be close.
Yes.
We didn't think it was gonna be a blowout.
No, playoff football is not usually a blowout,
No.
and even there was only really two games that were really blowouts this week, but this game was not one of them. And it was a fun one to watch.
It was.
But at the end of the day, when you're watching the Bills kind of work, 27 points against a Colts defense, not bad.
Not bad
at all. Their defense came and they showed up and they played well.
Yep.
But the Colts got into, on the other side of the field, every single drive, meaningful drive. I think they needed going into the half. Every meaningful drive they got to the other side of the field, they were not able to put it in the end zone. Or not able to capitalize.
Because that run game slowed down.
That run game slowed down, right. So, kind of got to pin it on the Colts offense on that one. When you hold a stud offense like the Bills to 27 points, you have to capitalize on offense, and they just were not able to.
No, and I'll say this: if you're the Colts, you have to start to ask questions. As for me, my biggest thing was quarterback play. I felt like Phillip Rivers, he did okay, but I don't think he really did enough.
No.
He was making a lot of passes. He went 27 for 46, 309 yards, but when he had to make that meaningful play, it just seemed like he couldn't quite do it. And I think that really showed in the last two drives where they had a chance to win in all actuality, and they just couldn't really do it.
Because the thing that the Bills are good at is manipulating teams that are one-dimensional. The Colts are one-dimensional on offense. They're a running football team. They don't have any top-flight wide receivers. T.Y. is washed. And Phillip Rivers is not all that. Not anymore. So they were a run-heavy football team. So the Bills said, okay, we'll stop the run.
Right.
Do something else. And they weren't able to.
Correct. And I think, if you're the Bills, you have to be so excited with the way Josh Allen is playing right now. He is playing ridiculous football. 26 for 35, 324 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Stephon Diggs, he is a man amongst boys. He is a monster. He's a monster. And I'm really excited to kind of see what they do going forward. Because if they can continue this recipe, if they can continue this brand of football, I can definitely see them going to the AFC Championship game and having a legitimate shot.
My concern with the Bills is their lack of. But they need a more substantial, consistent running game.
Agreed.
Josh Allen can't be your sole running game.
Right.
He needs to be able to be a passer because that's what he's good at. He is very good at that. He's good at running, but you also need to supplement his passing with a rushing attack. You don't want to be that one-dimensional that you're good at stopping. Because someone else who's a good head coach, like John Harbaugh or an Andy Reid, is going to be able to put the kibosh on that too.
Yep.
So you have to be very careful about falling into these things. But they were able to seal the game away with this one. So anytime you win a playoff game, it's good stuff.
Definitely. And I'll say this to kind of double down on that. I don't like to see Josh Allen run 11 times because every time a quarterback runs,
Sure.
they have an actually big target on their head.
Yep.
Everybody's trying to kill them when they run the football.
Mhm.
Because now they don't have to worry about, getting, a personal foul for roughing the passer or things like that. I can go there and I can try to lay you out and not get in trouble for it.
Right.
So every time a quarterback runs the football, you have to be nervous. And I don't like him. To me, 11 attempts is probably 6 or 7 too many in my opinion.
Sure.
I'd like to keep it to 5 or under,
Mhm.
and lean on the running backs. That's what
Yes.
they're there for. And if you look at the yard distribution, Josh Allen, like you had said, accounted for over half the rushing yards.
Mhm.
That's it. It was good enough.
Sure.
But going forward, I don't think that's something you want to, continue to try to utilize.
Exactly, and it's tough to start getting your running game going against the Colts, who that's their strength. Their
Right.
strength is stopping the run. So you got to be careful. It was funny. I was watching the game, and Josh Allen had what looked like a designed run, where he was running up the middle, and someone goes, "Oh, he's a runner! He's a runner!" And then Josh Allen just pulls back and tosses it to his tight end in the corner of the end zone. And they're like, "Oh, he's a passer! Oh my gosh!" Which was really, really cool to see. It's that versatility that he's really good at. But I would like to see him only really run when it's necessary.
Correct.
So no one's open. There's a massive lane in front of you. Go get a first down.
And then get down on the ground.
Right, get down on the ground.
Get down. Don't
You
take
end up
any
moving
hits. Correct.
Let's hop over to Rams Seahawks. This was probably the least fun, second least fun game to watch.
And it was funny too, because this game had a lot of interesting things sort of happen
Sure.
early on in terms
Sure.
of quarterback controversy for the
Yeah.
Rams.
This is the one that I probably would have took a nap during on Saturday. Just
Yeah.
because it didn't. I don't know. Even going into it, I was like, this is not gonna be fun.
Because we expected a defensive battle
And it
in
kind of
terms
was
of
at
the
at the
Rams.
first half.
Correct.
In the first quarter, Walford, a Rams backup quarterback, got
Right.
hurt.
That was a
Jared-
scary looking injury.
Mhm.
Scary.
He did end up going to the hospital.
Going to the hospital and a neck brace is
Yep.
scary.
Jared Goff. They didn't start Jared Goff, not because obviously they weren't benching Jared Goff, but he still was trying to nurse back that thumb injury.
Right,
They were like,
he had three-
physically, could he play?
He had
Sure.
3 pins in his thumb.
Right. Could he play physically? Yeah, sure. Do we want him to play? No. So let's put in Walford. We are confident in his ability to play good football, and he was looking like he was going to play good football.
Right.
Took a very nasty hit.
Mm.
Should have been flagged, and it was, and they picked the flag up.
Because he was a runner.
Right. So I mean, but when he slid, like it's that like one like split second where like do you call it, do you not call
Correct.
it, and a lot of even like former officials were like, no, probably should have called it.
I
And
probably
they
would
kinda did
have.
that. Yeah.
But it's hard though, because being and again, I was a high school defensive player. It's really no big deal.
Sure.
But it's tough because when you're aiming for a certain spot and then that level changes,
Right.
that plane of contact now changes in the split second. You can't. There's no time for you to change your plane of
Mhm.
contact anymore.
Sure.
So you're a victim of circumstance. You're doing all the right things. It's just one player decides to drop down a little bit, and now it's a head-to-head hit. So
Yeah.
it's so hard.
The only reason I kind of disagree is because if you're gonna tackle someone normally, right? Where are you shooting for? You're shooting for body, and you're shooting for like that waist area.
Sure.
You want to wrap up, make a tackle, make a hit. Now if someone slides, all of a sudden their head goes to the ground, not to where their chest would have been. So if you're shooting for their chest, really what should happen is you fly over, they go down,
Right.
and then that's it. But when that quarterback changes trajectory, defenders oftentimes will also lower their shoulder,
Correct.
and all of a sudden you clip the quarterback's chin.
And that's the thing too that
And
I'm
then
seeing
that's
is a lot of these slides.
It's instinct, really.
They're more baseball slides than there are I don't know if there's a football slide, but there are a lot
Right.
of baseball slides in the sense that you kind of sit down in the chair and you
Yep.
slide on your butt instead of sliding, instead of kind of going almost flat to the
Right.
ground, right? So it's one of those things. The plane might change, but now that you dip down and they dip down,
Mhm.
now the level instead of being at the chest is right at the chin,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
it's that tricky
changes,
kind of
yeah.
thing, right?
It's
so.
tough for defenders, but anyway. So Jared Goff comes in. He did what he was supposed to do. He was a game manager
Did enough.
and did what he was supposed to do and took his team to a win.
Mhm.
Props to Jared Goff. That pass rush is not something to laugh at.
No.
They've been very good towards the back half of the
Mhm.
season. So the Rams are moving on. Not sure how far they'll go, but they're moving
Yeah.
on. The Seahawks have a lot of questions to answer. What are you going to do about that offensive line?
Yes,
going into the offseason?
that's number one.
Really big issue. Got to protect Russell Wilson.
Rushing attack.
What's your solution at running back? Maybe your offensive line is the solution at running back. If you get some people who can block for a running back like Chris Carson, you're going to do okay.
Right.
Because he's a good running back. And the back end of that defense needs help.
Yes.
They let way too much go in terms of those receivers on the Rams, giving them wide open lanes. Robert Woods dropped a pass that would have taken 60 yards.
To the house, yeah.
Right. So Seahawks need to figure out the back end of that defense and the meat of that offense to really be any sort of contender. And offensive line has been something they have not had a good thing of
In a long time.
since before Pete Carroll.
Right.
So
and that's a great example of, investing more in the special pieces than investing in
Sure.
the meat and bones.
they
kind
have
of the
great
steak
wide
and potatoes,
receivers,
right?
great quarterback, solid pass rush.
When
What
you
about-
can't win in the trenches, you hear it all the time. The game is won in the trenches. When you can't win the game in the trenches, especially offensively, you see a performance like what you saw on Saturday, where it just felt like the Seahawks never really threatened them offensively. It never felt like there was an offensive threat there for them. And keep this in mind too. The Rams beat them by 10 with their starting quarterback, 3 pins in his thumb, and he just got off the surgery table 12 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they still lost.
Yeah.
What happens if the Rams are healthy? What happens if Aaron Donald doesn't get hurt halfway into the third quarter? You start to ask a lot of questions. And Russell Wilson still got sacked 5 times. That's a lot.
Yep.
So, if you're the Rams going into Lambeau next week, it's going to come down to defense.
Yep.
Offense is not going to win you the game. It didn't win you this game. It's not going to win you the next one either.
Nope.
Going to come down to defense. How much can you stall that offense for the Green Bay Packers, and can you neutralize Devontae Adams?
Correct. If the Rams can keep the Packers under 30, they have a shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's gonna. We'll get there. Now let's hop over to Bucks football team. This was awesome.
Oh yeah, Yes.
This was awesome. This was fantastic.
Hey, I saw something that was like, Taylor Heineke deserves Heineken for life.
Yeah, dude, honestly, no joke. I picked the football team. Obviously, I got it wrong, but for a moment there, I was
We
like...
both picked the Seahawks, by the way.
Yeah,
so
we
both
did
got
both
that
pick the
wrong. I picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I picked the football team. And I don't regret it, though.
No.
They were so fun to watch.
They were.
Every time on offense, I'm like, all right, what's Taylor Heineke got going on? I felt so bad for Washington's backup quarterback, he'd never taken a snap in the NFL, ever. And Taylor Heineke was nursing his shoulder. So they take him into the locker room, and luckily there was like a 5 or 6 minute review on the Bucks drive for some kind of touchdown or something that happened at the end of their drive. So this backup quarterback's getting ready. He's getting smacked in the face by his offensive lineman. Yo, let's go, bud, let's go. And everyone's like, oh no, this is gonna be a mess. And then all of a sudden he's standing there, he's ready to go. All of a sudden Taylor Heineke comes trotting. And he's like, dang it! So then Heineke goes out there and he kills it.
Yeah.
He was electric that game. 23 points. It's not what you like to see, but he did it in such a way where
All things
he
considered,
fought. That team fought so hard to get that win. They did about everything they could. I wish they would have run the ball more.
they tried.
Yeah.
They tried. I mean, they had 23 rushing attempts. They couldn't.
Right.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not going to let you run the football. It's just not going to happen. They haven't let anybody run on them significantly over the course of the year. There's been 1 or 2 blimps where they've had some rushing attack go against them, but other than that,
Six of those were Heineke.
Right.
So.
And so I'll say this. I think, one of these young cats going to learn, bro. Don't poke the sleeping tiger, man. Dude, don't wake up the sleeping lion, man. Just let that boy be. I don't know why. The people keep talking about Tom Brady. I'm on Tom. No, you don't, bro. No, you don't. And this is a good example. You look at Chase Young's stats over the course of the game. He had one pressure.
Yeah.
On 35 rush attempts, 1 pressure. And you expect it, right? You expect, okay. He's gonna come out, he's gonna come out with his head on fire. So we're gonna put extra pressure all to the left. Every time he rushes, we're gonna chip him. Every time we're gonna slide an extra one over on the side.
And even because of that, they gave up a few sacks to some guys in the middle of the D line, but they were like, Chase Young ain't getting it.
Nope.
So.
And the other thing too, you're less likely to fumble when you see the rush
when it's coming at you.
Correct. When it's coming from the backside, you don't see it, so you're more prone to have fumbles, fumble recoveries, things of that nature. I think if you're Washington, you have to start asking questions. What do you do with the quarterback position going forward? And now I think you have a serious conversation to be had. I don't know if Alex Smith is coming back.
Heineke he's not a young guy. He's been in the league for a bit, so I think he is a solid Ryan Fitzpatrick type backup. And I think you draft a guy in the draft this year. Justin Fields looks like he might fall pretty far if he doesn't go. If quarterbacks don't go 1 and 2, if the Jets decide to take an offensive lineman instead of a quarterback, which is looking likely at this point, there's not really a team after that for a while that needs a quarterback until Washington. So Washington could very well use.
When does Washington draft?
They're going to be.
They're in the top 10, no?
No, they made playoffs, so they're the very bottom.
Oh, well, the Patriots are going to get a quarterback for them.
Maybe if they get Justin Fields, I'd be surprised. I don't know. I don't feel like he's their kind of guy. They might take the kid from BYU,
Maybe.
Florida, and
yeah,
he looks pretty good.
Travis is in Trask.
Yes,
Trask, yeah.
So they will probably take a quarterback first round, mentor him, see how he does in training camp and all those sorts of things. And if you need to start Heineke early on and then do something similar to what the Dolphins did, because this team is a very good football team.
Sure.
It has a very bright future. They could be winning this division next year. Again. So take note, this team's defense is top 5 in every category. That's not even disputable. Running game's great. Get Antonio Gibson more reps. Wide receivers are great. Tight end, great. Need some help quarterback?
Offensive line was actually pretty
Offensive
solid
line's
too.
been pretty well, yeah, absolutely. Heineke broke 3 of a lot of sacks, so he helped him out on the stat front, but they could solidify that offensive
Of course.
line. And the back end of that defense, secondary, safety.
I would say safety in
Safety
particular,
mostly.
yeah.
But the Bucs, on the other hand, they're on fire, and they played very well against a very good defense, but they got a test next week.
Yeah, and this is exactly what if you're a Bucs fan, this is exactly what you didn't want to happen, was your road to the Super Bowl to go through New Orleans, because it's New Orleans is tailor-made to combat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are literally the kryptonite of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm not even talking in terms of them beating them 2 times in the regular season. Let's just look at matchups.
Sure.
Just matchup-wise, they're the kryptonite. They are the one team, I believe, that are the most equipped to beat the Buccaneers. I don't think the Chiefs are. Clearly, the Green Bay Packers aren't. I think it's the Saints are going to be the reason why the Bucs don't win a Super Bowl this year. But I think if you're the Bucs, if you're a Bucs fan, you got to be pretty excited because you're really starting to see some life here.
Mm-hmm.
That offense gets better every week.
Yep.
Leonard Fournette was a
great
bell cow.
Yes.
He went absolutely
Played great.
nuts. Tom Brady did what Tom Brady does. He threw
Just
for
over 50%.
just over 50%, which
Did what
is
he's
fine.
supposed
381 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers.
And that's against a good defense.
Yeah, against a top 5 defense.
Yep.
That's a damn good performance in my opinion.
Yes.
He's spreading the wealth. Mike Evans went for 119.
We didn't even think he was going to play.
Cameron Brate went for 80. Chris Godwin went for 79.
Yep.
Tony Brown went for 50. That's what we need to see, and that's the beauty of having a cachet of weapons you can use. You can spread the wealth, and you can't just say, hey, we're going to double just that guy. Okay, because I have 3 more people I'm going to send at you that can go get you 120 yards. So
I'm going to go out on a limb, just based off my knowledge already. I do not believe Tom Brady, if he loses again New Orleans this next weekend, I do not believe he's ever lost to the same team 3 times in one season.
I would probably say that's accurate.
Because I think he lost to the Jets once in the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure he beat the Jets early on in that season. I think he split with the Jets that season. So I don't think he's ever lost to the same team 3 times in 1 year.
I'll tell you what, I'm not betting against him. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not betting against him.
All right.
He already made his cryptic, Twitter, Instagram post. Hey guys, it was a great win. But if we get to work another week, who do you guys think we should face? I know who I want to see. And then just that little ass smirk he has. It's just like, that's scary to see, bro.
Yeah.
That's scary to see. So I'm really excited to see what they do coming up. I think if they're gonna beat New Orleans, which we'll get to in the next video, but it's gonna come from the run game.
Yep.
They have to run the football.
I agree.
Because if you look at the first 2 games that they played against them, they couldn't run. And when you turn into a one-dimensional team
Yep.
with a front 4 that can get pressure like New Orleans can, that's not a good recipe for success. So I think that's what it's going to come down to, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Um,
Let's hop over to Ravens Titans. We both picked the Ravens on this one.
yeah, I think some people might have been surprised by this game. I really wasn't. I
No,
thought this
me
is
either.
exactly what was going to happen.
Yep. The Titans. So it didn't happen the way I thought it would.
I didn't. Yeah.
I thought it would be a shootout. I thought it would be a high-scoring game, and then the Titans just wouldn't be able to keep up. But it kind of happened the other way around, where it was a very low-scoring game, and the Titans couldn't punch it in.
No.
The Ravens gave Derrick Henry his worst game in his career. This is the worst game Derrick Henry's ever had in the playoffs, nonetheless. So props to the Ravens. If that run defense can stop them, going against Buffalo should be interesting because Buffalo don't really run the ball. So.
No.
Buffalo and the Titans could not be more opposite in my eyes. But anyway, Titans ran the ball like crap, and Lamar Jackson got his first playoff win.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another box
That's
checked
another
off.
checked
where,
off, yep.
You know, we were talking about a few weeks ago. We were talking about Jalen Hurts. Can a quarterback win a game? Lamar Jackson's got that. Can he win multiple? Yes, he can. Can he make the playoffs? Sure can. Can he win a playoff game? Check that off the list.
Mhm.
Next stop. Can you win multiple playoff games?
Right.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. I think Lamar Jackson had a pretty good game. I really enjoyed that brand of football that he played
Mhm.
because it reminded me of the MVP Lamar Jackson that we
Yes.
had saw.
Yes.
He was using his legs and he was having fun doing it, and he was doing it at will, not out of necessity, but because he wanted to.
Mhm.
And I think that's when this team is the most functional.
Yes.
When he makes the decision, hey, I'm going to use my legs to beat you,
Mhm.
not just to save myself.
Mhm.
And we saw that. He ran 16 times, 136 yards, and a touchdown. And then he threw for 179 yards. He had an interception, a bad interception at that,
Sure.
but. He had over 50% completion percentage throwing too. That's a good recipe.
That's it.
And if you look at how the Baltimore Ravens functioned at a high capacity last year when that
Yes.
offense was tearing it up, it looked exactly like that.
Mhm.
It looked no different. So if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, you should be excited, and more so, because it seems as though that Ravens defense. I know a couple of weeks ago I talked about how they seemed very soft to me. They thought they were bullies, but they really weren't. They were bullies this week. They put their foot in the ground and said, hey, you're not getting past here.
Mhm.
And they did that. And they made a stand. They said, Ryan Tannehill, you won't beat us with your arm.
Right.
And you're damn sure you're not gonna beat us with your legs, nor are you Derrick Henry. So
Mhm.
do something about it. And they couldn't.
I think the great thing was the best thing that could have happened for the Ravens is that this game was close.
Correct.
Because if it wasn't close, Titans would have abandoned the running game and they would have tried to pass the ball more, which the Titans never really did.
No.
They never really tried to pass the ball more. I'm sure you could check what the attempts were for Tannehill. But I'm almost positive when I was watching this game, they never really said, all right, we're done running the football. They said, nope, we're just going to keep handing it off. We're going to keep giving it to them.
So it was a balanced attack. They had 26 pass attempts, 22 rush attempts. So they didn't have it.
So-
In all honesty, they didn't have much time of possession.
It is balanced, but in a sense of how the NFL is trending right now, 26 pass attempts
not a
is
lot.
nothing.
No.
That's not a lot.
You look
all.
at Ben Roethlisberger, he threw 65 times yesterday.
Right, and that's way too many.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But especially for Roethlisberger.
Oh,
But the Titans, they said first and second down, we're running the ball. Third down, if we need to, we'll pass it. But if we don't need to, we're running.
correct.
And then they relied on play action, but it never really took off. The Ravens said, you know what? You can keep running the ball. The game's going to be close. Keep running it. And the
Mhm.
Titans kept running it. If it had gotten too far away, you would have seen the comeback Titans, which happened against Pittsburgh.
Right.
Pittsburgh. They ended up losing that game, but it was against Pittsburgh. Who was it?
The Browns.
The Browns. It happened against the Browns. They were behind by a decent amount, and they said, "Whoop, let's go." And it happened a few times throughout the season. I cannot. It was against the Ravens at the beginning of the regular
That's
season.
right.
They were down by a decent amount. They came back and won the game. Why? Because they passed the ball. So, really good on the Ravens for sticking to their guns. Again, like you said, they were bullies pretty much this whole game. If they can play like this, except with the passing defense,
Right.
you'll see it. You'll see the Ravens going to the championship game.
And that's what I'm curious to see because again, going up against the Bills next week, it's going to be a very pass-heavy attack.
Yep.
Let's see how that Ravens defense holds up then.
Yep.
That's what I'm curious to see. But Yeah, if you're the Titans, you need to think about diversifying that offensive attack because we had kind of talked about this a couple weeks back. A run-heavy offense doesn't work. Not in a pass-heavy league, it doesn't work.
And I think
it might work sometimes, but when it really counts and it really matters, it doesn't work. The proof is in the pudding. It just doesn't work. It's
I think they were expecting what usually happens with the Titans, right? When the running game doesn't work in the first half, damn well works in the second.
Right, you wear them down.
Right, you wear them down. They never wore them down.
No,
it didn't happen. So to a point, they have the offensive weapons. Their offensive line is good. Ryan Tannehill's he's good. They have some great receivers. They have a good tight end. So I don't think they really have any holes to fill. I think it's about game planning. Yes, of course you should run the ball, but if it doesn't work, you need to start not abandon it, but
do something different.
Run the ball on second down, yes, but you need to pass on second down. You need to pass on third. Once you start realizing that something's not working and this team's got you figured out, make it so that they unfigure you out. And then you can start running the ball again.
Mm-hmm.
So pass the ball to run the ball. Run the ball to pass the ball. You got to make these. If your rushing attempts are there, once you get over 20, and it still hasn't worked, start passing the ball.
Correct.
Let's move on to a very, very boring game.
The slime game.
This one
the
was
Nickelodeon game.
No.
That was awful.
That was so bad.
That was terrible.
I watched it for about 5 minutes and I was like,
I didn't watch it, period. I just saw stuff on Twitter and I was like, this is awful.
I was like, granted, we're adults, so we're adults watching a kids channel that's airing a football game, so it's not for us, but it was pretty rough.
It was terrible.
But barring even that, this game was pretty boring.
Yeah, it was just a snooze fest.
The Bears defense played well.
Yeah.
21 points to the Saints is very good. Very good. I would even say, don't even bother drafting defense this offseason.
I think you're okay.
The Bears need a solution on offense. This game showed. We both picked the Saints, by the way.
Yep.
This game showed they should not have been a playoff team in the first place.
Correct. That was my only impression. They shouldn't have been in this tournament.
And this is the only team really that was in this entire week
Like,
where
it
I
just kind
said
of felt like the redheaded stepchild in a sense.
you really didn't belong.
Yeah.
The offense was poor, like real bad. It was borderline hard to watch. They really only did score 3 points. The last 6 that they got.
Oh, dude, that drop by Sims. I just saw it on the highlights. Oh my. How do you drop that?
The last 6 points they got were on the last play of the game. It was a gorgeous catch by Jimmy Graham.
That was awesome. He just walked out of the stadium.
Like, I see right there. So they really only scored 3 points.
Right.
That's abysmal. You cannot do that and show up to the playoffs and have that poor of a performance. You need to get rid of Nick Foles and get rid of Mitch Trubisky. Neither one's the answer. Abandon both of them. All conversations about either one of them being your starting quarterback need to put kibosh. Draft 2 quarterbacks. I don't care. You need some kind, and the Bears really should be the ones drafting a quarterback at this point. They need a quarterback more than pretty much any of these playoff teams. And the Steelers need a quarterback. I think that's for sure. I think Washington needs a quarterback. That's for sure. And the Rams need a solid backup. That's for sure.
I would agree.
The Colts might need a quarterback at this point. But the Bears really are a quarterback away, where Mitch was not able to distribute the ball in any way, shape, or form. There were and maybe a few offensive linemen too, but he was not able to distribute the ball in any way, shape, or form. The receivers are good; they have good receivers, and they have a good running back. Defense played great, giving up 21 points to the Saints. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
You need a person to be able to distribute the ball efficiently. Did not have that.
Well, I think I would heed you. Don't overreact necessarily by this game, because what the Saints did that I was really impressed by is they made the Bears very one-dimensional.
Sure.
And Mitch Trubisky is not the kind of quarterback that can thrive in a one-dimensional system, aka a pass-heavy system.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be able to lean on the run attack, very similar to a Baker Mayfield.
Sure.
run the football effectively and make my job pressure-free, and I can function at a high capacity.
Sure.
Mitchell Trubisky is very similar. You look at him in his past couple of games. When David Montgomery was running the ball down people's throats, Mitchell Trubisky was dropping dimes. That run attack goes away, and now he can't function.
Right.
So, I do agree with you. I think you keep Mitchell Trubisky, though. I think you get rid of Nick Foles, get rid of that contract, draft somebody. Like you had said with your boy Drew Lock up there in Denver.
Yeah, competition.
Competition. Hey, brings the best out of people. Let's see. But I think the tale of this day was the fact that the Chicago Bears couldn't establish a run attack.
Sure.
I think people really underestimate how important that running attack was to that offense.
Right.
Because they don't really have any studs around them that can say, hey, I'm going to go win you this game.
Sure.
They need the run attack to be present in order for them to do their job correctly. And they just couldn't do it. I think that's really what it came down to. And if you're a Saints fan, if you play like that against the Bucs, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there now.
I also, and I know this is going to sound weird, I don't think the Bucs defense is as good as the Bears defense is.
I'll say this, and we'll get there.
Sure.
But I think if the Bucs take anything away from the Chicago Bears, send pressure. Send pressure all day long. Drew Brees is not what he used to be. He does not like it. He's not like he used to be where he could slide, he can evade. He doesn't want to be there when he sees people coming down the lane. So and that's what the Bucs stopped doing. They stopped sending pressure because they started to get behind. They didn't want to risk scoring anymore, having any more points scored against them.
Mm-hmm.
Send pressure all game long. Because if you look at some of those turnovers that Drew Brees had, they were tipped. It was when pressure was in his face. It's when he got hit and he was trying to throw. Things of that nature. If the Buccaneers can do that and keep them to 21 points, watch out. Watch out. Which I would love to see that. Oh, man.
You would.
I hate the Saints, bro. I hate the Saints.
All right, I'll top over to Browns Steelers. I think it's safe to say the Browns won this game in the first quarter.
And let me ask you this: do you think the Browns won it in the first quarter, or did you think the Steelers lost in the first quarter? Because me personally, I think the Steelers lost it in the first quarter. I don't think the Browns won it because the Browns didn't do anything particularly outstanding to get the points that they had gotten. And the Steelers gave them 14 free points right off the bat.
I'm gonna give it 50-50.
I would agree with you.
So here's what I'll do. The Steelers, obviously, the snap went right over Ben Roethlisberger's head. Very reminiscent of the Broncos Super Bowl.
Yeah, that must have brought back PTSD for you, huh?
I was like, I had some Vietnam flashbacks. That's not cool. But even after that fumble, instantly after that fumble happened, what did you see? Ben Roethlisberger and James Conner. What did they do?
It looked very much so like Cam Newton not jumping on that
They
fumble.
both kind of just looked at it. And they were like, are you going to get it? No, I think you're going to get it.
It actually looked like Ben Roethlisberger was asking him, like, hey, are you getting this ball? Am I getting this ball? As they were running to go get it, like, hey, who's getting this? Who's getting this?
And what happened? 3 Browns came rushing through, banged both of them out of the way, said, get the hell out of here. We're grabbing this ball. And they nailed it. And they got it, and they got the touchdown. So the Steelers unenforceably gave a turnover away, but the Browns went and got it. They took that ball after it was on the ground. Turnovers. The Browns got after that. They went and got that ball. The running game, those running backs shook off tacklers who didn't want to be there. So it was the Steelers' overall lack of presence and the Browns' over-presence, where they clearly wanted this more than anyone.
Correct.
And the first person I think of, and people are going to laugh at me, is Baker Mayfield when it comes to who wanted this game the most. At the end of the game last week and towards the middle of this game this week, what did you see Baker Mayfield do? Takes off. He was not going to be denied for a first down.
Yeah,
especially at the end.
I like that play.
At the end of that first half.
Yep.
He dives in with shoulder first and said, get out of my way, I'm getting this first down. That was at the end of the first game and towards the middle of this one. You can tell how bad the Browns really wanted to win this game. They said, we're not choking this one.
A desperate team is a scary team. And that's what you saw, right? With the Cleveland Browns, very similar, to the Ravens. They said, I'm going to put my foot in the ground and you're not getting past this point.
Mm-hmm.
In not the Ravens, the Browns, they just wanted it more. It was clear. From the first play was the epitome of the entire game. right? The Steelers came in there thinking they were the Steelers. They were the smash-mouth football team. Hey, stop the run and we run the ball first. You know, we run the ball and we stop the run. No, listen, you're not doing either of those things.
Did neither one.
The Cleveland Browns look more like the Steelers of old than the Steelers of new, and that's alarming if you're a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're a Browns fan, you know this was a good win.
Yep.
See, Dan Orlovsky, calm down, relax. This is not the most impressive win you've ever seen in your life. Stop it. Just stop. Listen, just cut it out. Don't even go there. That's just not true.
So to be fair with his points, you have a young football team with
All the odds stacked. I get all his points.
arguable, well, just for the people at home, arguably maturity issues.
Sure.
Very young.
No playoff experience.
No playoff experience. You had only 15 players on a 53-man roster at playoff.
Pretty much entire COVID running through. You have no head coach.
No head coach. You had missing offensive linemen, which is your bread and butter of your offense.
No practice all week.
No practice all week.
Yeah.
You guys were watching Zoom videos, or
Yep.
hanging out on Zoom, and doing whatever. And then they obliterated a team that they had not beaten in their own house in 17 seasons. That is astonishing.
It's huge.
It's astonishing.
And
Again, I'm not going to say it's the best win of all time, but that is like the Browns boys became men.
It's like the little brother sonning the big brother and say, listen, hey, you're the little brother now.
Yeah.
And there's always that point in time where the little brother grows up and says, hey, big bro, we're evil now. you ain't that anymore.
Yep.
And that was this day for the Cleveland Browns. They came out, they showed out, right? And they showed, hey, you need to respect us. We're not little brother anymore. We're just like you. And let me show you how. And they smashed him in the mouth. They punched him in the mouth all night long.
Chase Claypool, quit drinking the Juju Kool-Aid. Man.
Hey, Juju, stop making it, bro.
Yeah, stop making the Kool. I'm telling you, if I'm the Steelers, I'm cutting Juju.
Well, he's a free agent this year anyway.
All right,
So.
well, good. Let him go. Sign somebody else. Draft a receiver. There's lots of good receivers in there.
It's funny, ironic.
Let
because
him go.
He actually had a big game this game.
That's fine. He can have a big game all day. I don't care. He's a cancer in that locker room. If you ask me, he's the one who is making everyone complacent. He's the one doing TikToks. He's the one doing all. He's one of those leaders who sets the mentality of we are all that. The Browns is the Browns.
A bunch of faceless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a stooge. Shut up. Yeah, you ain't faceless, but you're winless in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What you got? Nothing. All right, go home, pack your bags. And then Chase Claypool, you want to say, oh, well, Brown's going to get smacked next week. You got smacked this week.
Facts.
So keep your mouth shut
Facts.
and go home,
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Go lift some weights, little boy. Like,
I think.
the same. The mentality in that locker room is very clearly an issue.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin
He's gotta
is
get that
not
back.
willing to nip that in the butt, and he needs to be.
I think he is. I think it might just got away from him this year. I think they were
That's a problem.
because the thing about it is with this whole COVID season, the head coaches aren't able to be as in control as they normally are.
Sure.
There's a lot more stuff going on behind the scenes that you can't see. You know, contact tracing, 6 feet of distance, all that stuff. So you can't be on top of your team like you normally can be. And I think the Steelers really gave you a good example of what can happen in a negative way when you have a lot more freedom with young players. I think they're a lot better than what they are.
Yep.
I think that was the perfect example. So, you know, I think Mike Tomlin will get that under control. I think if you're a Steelers fan, you got 2 questions to ask. What am I doing with my offensive line? And what am I doing with my quarterback?
Yep.
Because
When that defense is healthy, you'll be fine.
the Steelers can't run the football because they can't establish the trench for it. They
Yep.
can't win in the trenches. They can't win in the front. If you can't win in the front, you can't run the ball.
Yep.
It's not James Conner's fault. He's an adequate runner, man. When there's nowhere to go to, I mean, it's as good as not.
Right.
So what are you doing offensively? And what are you going to do culture-wise?
It is a problem.
Yeah,
It is a problem, and they need some serious help on that front.
definitely.
That was a very exciting playoff. I really
So much
enjoyed the
fun.
playoffs this weekend.
And I'm
Having
even more
6
excited for
games.
this weekend.
Excellent.
It's gonna be so good. But alright, y'all, that was it. Shorter videos now because we have less games to talk about, which
Yep.
is, I think, good for everybody.
Yeah.
But we'll come back at you at Thursday, or on Thursday, I should say. We'll kind of go over, you know, or the divisional round.
Yep.
Divisional round playoff, divisional round picks. Why we think they're gonna go that way. But until next time, we will see you guys later.